Hey everyone, welcome to the Delphi Dirt. Can you hear me? Guys, we have a lot to talk about. We have a lot to talk about that has been going on for a while. And you'll have to forgive me, I'm down a mod tonight. There's Prof. Hold on, I got to make him a mod. No, not move. There we go. Chris and Prof will be moderating for me tonight. Clint's not feeling well. It happens. So we're going to wing it a little bit. I had some things I wanted to talk about. Hey, Donnie! Donnie Koontz! Oh my God, Donnie Koontz. If I could give you the biggest hug right now. I miss you so much, buddy. For those of you who don't know Donnie, this is how I'm going to get started in this. Donnie's like our golden angel. He's our body armor from trial, is what he was. And Donnie was phenomenal at keeping Chris and I protected and Kathy protected and the Allen family. And so, Donnie, I'm so glad you're here. I love you. Oh, miss you too, sweetheart. Oh my God, like one of the greatest humans there is. So, I went live a little bit differently this time. So bear with me because I meant to grab my notebook and I got to jot a couple things down that came up in last minute conversations that I really, really, really want to get to. Hold on one second here. All right, sorry. If I don't write this stuff down, guys, I will forget it. So let's, Adrian, I think I wanted to make you a mod. Yep. Chris and Prof are set up. Thank you, Adrian, for helping out with that. Clint is not feeling well. So I appreciate it. All the wonderful folks are here. Yes, Muty. Yes, Muty silence. um, guys, I don't even know where to start. Just like let me start by saying this. We've gotten about a half a dozen new emails this week that contained good information. Now we get a lot of emails, okay? But we've got about a half a dozen that came in this week that contained vital information, info that we didn't know about or that we had pieces to, and we're awaiting more details. And so now we're like, oh my God, we're there. We've got the full name instead of just the initial, or we have the name of the trucking company that we were looking for. Um, we now know how this person may connect into some things that happened on the 13th. So it's been a hell of a week in terms of gathering new evidence and going back and, of course, revisiting all of the old stuff that I've been talking about on the podcasts, which is, of course, old text messages, recordings, emails, conversations, WhatsApp. Osbrook's a big WhatsApp user, for those of you who don't know. And that program allows for you to actually download and export the entire conversation into various extensions. So I went ahead and did that a few months ago before I ever decided I was going to start sharing this stuff. So we've got a lot. A lot. Yes, Truth Seeker, I can see you. Hi, Granny. Hi, Lisa. Quad Axel Mimi. God, you guys, sweet dude, Shibby, like everybody's here. Samantha, Truth Seeker. I'm trying to get to everybody. If I miss a single name, I'll get it when you're talking, Lisa. Um, let me tell you how the idea came about for this live. And guys, this is not my normal setup. I'm still getting used to this one, so bear with me. Um, but over the last 4 or 5 days, I have received messages from several YouTubers out there, two of whom have asked me to go on their program and clarify things I've said here. One who wanted to check in and say, hey, I'm catching up on some of your stuff. Holy crap, that kind of stuff. So I talked to Chris and Clint about it immediately because we don't make decisions of that magnitude without checking with each other. Um, and the more we thought about it, especially Chris was like, why would you go on somebody else's channel when you have your own now? Is it a ratings bump? Is it a need for their monetization to increase? Are they slowing down in the bank account category? And listen, we like to be a little petty behind the scenes every once in a while to the people who have been outright cruel to us. So that prevents me from coming on here and being downright petty. But we decided it was best for us to do this in a controlled environment so that we could, first of all, control the comment section, as you know. Hi, Robin. Hi, Jade. And second, because it's our channel and we're trying to get people here to get a comprehensive understanding of the Delphi dirt and not send our people or anyone else's over to somebody else's channel. But the big thing, the big reason was that the last time we appeared, we saved Petty for 3 a.m. chit chats. Word. Is that the last time I appeared on a show with a host named Amy, it felt like a really big setup. And almost instantly the following day, she went from telling me how great it was, complaints, everything was awesome. Hey Christina, hey Christina. Telling, I guess, to doing a complete 180 and suddenly having an issue with me and having an issue with every aspect of my being. It wasn't just that maybe she didn't like my delivery or she thought I was snotty or whatever it is. No, this became a consistent day in and day out FU to me, about every aspect of who I am, from my work to my history to my family to my looks to my weight to my resume to my qualifications. It became, yes, Samantha, agreed. It became real obvious that something else was going on. So I'm going to get back to that in just a second. Samantha said, logically, if there are questions or details to clarify, the best place for that to be would be your own channel, so nothing is purposely taken out of context. Bingo. Purposely. Hey, Kay. So we decided that was going to be the route that we took. Because, now check this out. I'm not going to get into too many details here because I really am not about spilling other people's business unless it's relevant to this case and or relevant to what's occurred towards me or my team. When I say my team, I mean me, Chris, and Clint. Let's get that real clear, Carroll County. See you next Tuesday when we talk about that. I'm tired of having my words misconstrued. I'm tired of having people attack me for no reason. Yeah, I knew y'all would love that one. And I'm sick and tired of having people lie about what their real issue is with me. So I want to just tell you a quick story that occurred a few hours before my appearance on that particular program. That was the prep call that was made between her and I. It's pretty standard if you're going on somebody else's show. They lay down their ground rules and tell you how it's going to go and what the flow is. And that's fine. That's literally standard. But, and you all are going to see some of these texts this week. It's going to blow some people's minds. There are going to be some people over in the Mean Girls section who are going to be mad as fuck when they find out that Amy offered me a place to live and that she asked me to come live with her. Y'all don't even know what's coming. But yeah, talk about playing both sides, huh? Erica, you come stay with me in Columbus. Oh, don't worry, those messages are getting dropped this week, Adrian. I promise. I promise. We do have all the skills, Robin, the people who are here for the right reasons, not the ones who are not. And let's just not the ones who are not. So long story short, everything was fine on that call until the subject of Columbus came up. And I was told by her that she lives in Columbus. And I was like, oh my God, I lived in Columbus for years. I worked there in media and blah, blah, blah. And she was like, oh, really? And I said, yeah. And I told her where I worked. Now, I worked for this company not once, but twice. They actually brought me back years later. And it was a radio company out there, very well known in the Columbus market. And the moment I said that, the whole conversation went cold. And I knew it went cold. And I couldn't figure out why. I was like, what does this have to do with the price of eggs in Delphi? Like, this makes no sense to me, but whatever. So we do the show. Everything appears to be fine. I'm on there for like 3-4 hours. And the next morning, I get a couple of follow-up messages from her saying, great show. Oh my God, everybody's raving, blah, blah, blah. And then we'll go back and check the timeline together as a collective this week so that, we get the receipts. But it was instantly after that she had a hard-on for me. And what I soon discovered, because when somebody turns like that with no explanation, there's a reason. And so what I discovered was, thank you, Samantha, that her issue with me is actually one of a personal nature and not a professional nature. I've mentioned the cheerleading thing several times. Don't make me go back and bring out your business. Stop this petty, insecure behavior before I have to tell people what your real issue is with me. Okay? Because I will. It's not my fault you couldn't hack it in certain places within that community as a cheerleader. I'll leave it at that. So I don't like to be that person, guys. And for all of you who have been saying, oh, they're not that bad, or here we go. Michael Osbrook actually defended you on the house situation. Let me make things crystal clear. These SOBs have spent every single night for about 10 months, hours upon hours. We're talking hundreds of hours, doing nothing but trashing my name, doing nothing but trashing Chris's name, doing nothing but trashing Prof's name. Why? Because we're getting very close. Some of us are much closer than they realize. We just have learned to keep our cards very, very close to the vest these days because, you end up wrongfully arrested around here. Oh, I'm sorry, around there. For those of you who are worried about my safety, don't be. Even if they do find me, they can't get to me. And if it gets bad, I'll be gone in an instant. From the moment of my arrest, we began planning a way out for me. We began planning an escape plan. an escape route. People from the missing and murdered community stepped up in ways that I never expected. Investigators, PIs reached out, old friends who are retired agents reached out from federal agencies. People I had not heard from in years reached out and offered help and support. And not only am I very safe, not only am I very insulated, not only am I very protected, but try that shit here. I dare you. It will not go well. We ain't in Kansas anymore, folks. I have been moving all around, having meetings. If anybody wants to check on that, they're welcome to look at my flight logs. They'll see I was in DC, about a month ago? Yeah, play me again. I'm not here to be popular. I'm here because an innocent man is sitting behind bars in Oklahoma, falsely convicted of crimes he did not commit. And as a result of being sought out, solicited, and hired on that case, my own life was then thrown into shambles. I lost my home. All three of my babies, my dogs all died that year. You guys, the stress, what they were put through, like, I can't even tell you. Maybe not be a big deal to you that I lost all three of my dogs in a 7-month period. Oh, it matters to me. I went from 3 guard dogs who had my back to having no protection. Yes, Prof, it is. No, it's not, Chris. It's not our first high-profile case. Hi, Ronald. Support with Steph, Jenny. Sorry, I'm trying to catch all you guys as I'm talking. I'm trying to make sure I'm looking at the webcam and like making eye contact with you while still watching this. Yes, Truth Seeker, that's exactly what I'm saying. Long story short, there is a chief of police in Long Beach, Indiana. Okay, all right, Chris, I'm going to tell the story. Time to tell the story. Okay, so I bought this house from a dear old friend of mine, 40-plus year friend, whose own sister, actually had been abducted and her life taken. And Chris and I solved the case in 3 days. Her killers one's pleaded guilty already out of Hope Mills, North Carolina. The other one is facing death row if convicted. This is a big deal. And almost as kind of a thank you during the housing crisis and COVID, he reached out to me. I'll say thank you. He reached out to me and said, I have this house. It's an absolute shambles, but you're a perfectionist. If anybody can like literally gut this thing and make it brand new, it's you. And the cool thing is it had 6 bedrooms. And the reason that mattered to me is because I was working within the homeless community at the time. I was working within the shelter system. And I had discovered that there were a lot of barriers for people coming into the shelter system. So I bought that house for like $25,000 cash and had really cheap payments and was like maybe a year away from having that thing paid off, with the goal of turning the upstairs into an area where women could come when they couldn't get into the DV shelter and it was too dangerous for them to just go to the normal shelter, the women's shelter. So there was a goal with this. There was a massive plot of land across the street that had just been taken over by a nonprofit. And we were in talks to kind of work together. He would do the community center stuff across the street. I would have those 4 rooms across the street there. There were so many plans for this, okay? So we had this other person on our team you've never heard of before because she made a choice and she's got to live with that choice. But we had this other person on our team for many years, and one day I'm at my house gutting it with Clint. He and his girls like helped gut this place to no end. It was horrible. It looked like a hoarder's house when we first got a hold of it. And I get this phone call, and it's Kat. And she never calls me. She's more a message, a text. Chris can back me on this. And I was like, hey, Kat, what's up? And I hear, Mike just called. Swistek's down there threatening him to run you out of the house. I running out of your house. And I'm like, what? What the fuck are you talking about? And she's like, I don't know what's going on. And I said, text him. I said, text him and tell him to call me as soon as Swistek is gone. I have no idea what's going on here. Now, Mark Swistek was the chief of police of Michigan City Police Department for far too many years, and then resigned in a bullshit PR stunt along with two of his chiefs that was really designed to separate those top three chiefs and place them at different departments. And suddenly all three of those men became in charge of departments all throughout Northwest Indiana. So Mike doesn't call me. This is the guy who sold me my house. And he doesn't call me. And I'm messaging him like, what's going on here? What is Swistek doing down there talking to you about my house? What's going on? I get a hold of him later that night. And what he says to me, he picks up the phone and he's like, I don't know what the fuck you've gotten yourself into in this goddamn Delphi case, but I swear to God, if I don't run you out of this house, they're gonna burn it down. I said, stop right there. Stop. Now I know you're telling the truth. I said, because you would have no knowledge about all the arsons involved in the Delphi and Floor case. So now I know you were threatened by the chief of police today to run me out of my house. And he's like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm sorry. I know that you solved my sister's case. I know we've been friends all these years, but I didn't sign up for this when I sold you the house, and you're on your fucking own. All right. I've given you about 18,000 so far and got 30 grand in repairs into this place. So I dare you to make this mistake, because not only will I take those cops down, but I will take you down with, and then I'll prove the whole RICO case and you'll go under as well. Well, that's where we're at, folks. There's an attorney in Michigan City who's a partner at the law firm that represents KLM. If you have not pulled her criminal history in LaPorte County, then I don't want to hear it. Because here's the funny thing, and we'll go over that probably a little bit later as I lay all this out. Not later tonight, later in future episodes. Is there has now been doctoring and alteration of my case records in LaPorte County pertaining to KLM's representation. Like we didn't see that coming. We have been screenshotting her legal information in LaPorte County ever since the night we found it, which was October of last year mid-trial. And now we can show the progression of the alteration of her records. Her records have now been altered in LaPorte County, just as records have been altered in Carroll County. Yes, David Rogers, LaPorte County. There's a shaky lot there. I'll take anything you've got on that, folks. Anything. Hi, Carla. Let's see who else we've got in. David. Support with Steph. So this lawyer, the lawyer who shows up in the Tara Stevens cover-up, the lawyer who shows up in finding the caveat for my house seller to get out of the land contract. What he did was that land contract was unbreakable except for one condition. if I stopped paying. That was the only thing that could have broken that land contract. Oh, but that real estate lawyer then advised him that if he stops accepting those payments and making it impossible for me to hand over that money every month, then that violates the contract because I'm not giving him the money. It was brilliant. It was brilliant on their part. Absolutely brilliant. Now, mind you, if anybody wants to go into Beacon Schneider and look up who purchased the house at 1627 Tennessee Street in Michigan City, Indiana. Yes, David, that is right next to St. Joe County. And we have now had someone step forward out of St. Joe County and offered to give us the who's who in the corruption there that links all the way around the northern area of the state. So we're filling in those holes quickly. But yeah, if you guys want to go look at who purchased that house, the fact that they created an LLC just a few days before the house sale, that LLC has made no other purchases except for my house, and the names of the owners on that LLC. See, if you're from Michigan City and you don't look that up, then I don't want to hear anymore about who did or didn't hurt Tara Stevens. I just won't. Because the persons who bought that house are one of the owners of Creekside Bar and Grill, the bar where in front of where Tara Stevens was hit. And the other person was the person that I named as one of the drivers. And these two folks just happened to start an LLC just a few days before my house was magically sold. And then they snatched it up for 3 times the value. Which is, by the way, what matches the text messages that I and others have saying, the chief just told me, do you think Swistek was Donnie Webb's partner? Bingo! Chris, we have a winner in our comment section. Mr. M. Do you think Swistek was involved with Donnie Webb back in the day? Swistek was Donnie Webb's partner at MCPD. I don't know who you are unless you're Throgmorton, then I don't want you here. But Mr. M, yes, they were partners. And when Donnie got caught and turned in Ricky Anderson and the other dude, Swistek kept going and became the poster boy for this entire thing. Donnie Webb. Chris, I think we're gonna have to do a whole episode on Donnie because I really think it lays out a lot of this stuff. All right, guys. Story time. Donnie Webb in 2005 was a chief of narcotics at the Michigan City. He was the chief of narcotics at the Michigan City Police Department. And he was arrested by the feds for cutting a deal with the cartel to move all the drugs up from El Paso into Michigan City and have them distributed through Northwest Indiana. There's your connection, folks. This is the man who helped set up the pipeline. This is the cop who was grabbing kids off the streets when he saw them sell a dime bag and exploit them and turn them into drug mules under his thumb overnight while getting them to do his dirty work. He was head of security at an apartment complex in Michigan City called Tall Timbers, and the drugs were rampant. He was the guy supposed to be setting up stings in massage parlors, but he and his buddies were the ones getting freebies. Donnie Webb is the biggest cancer to have ever infected Michigan City. And he took down 2 other cops with him. Yes, David, we are aware it runs all the way down criminality to Monticello. And actually, if I want to start blowing some minds, it goes farther down than that. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, where is that? It's Southern Kentucky, guys. This particular pipeline goes all the way down to Southern Kentucky. There are other cases out of that area that we have not found connections to. Yes, all the way to Mexico. Mr. M, you're a Michigan City native. All right, the big question, Elston or Rogers? Because, Chris is a slicer. We don't hold it against her. But the other states and the trafficking routes, correct. Yeah, Jeffersonville. Chris, these folks are hitting on like all cylinders tonight. Okay, guys, let's fill in some holes right now. Jeffersonville, Indiana, September 2020. 10 days after Tara Stevens was, I think it was, let's see, I think it was 8 days, 6 or 8 days after she was hit and then passed away. There was a fire in Jeffersonville, Indiana. Okay. And that fire was at a massive office complex. Really, Tammy? Interesting. We'll talk. There was a fire that took out a whole bunch of businesses and a couple of nonprofits and a PI agency. Now, I told you there was another agency I was working for at that time, and it just so happened to be that one. And my boss got himself mixed up in a cartel case. Sure am, Chris. Why not? I'm thinking we'll let him draw the connection. Yeah. Burn to the ground. But I don't even think it had anything to do with me. That one I don't think was me. He pissed off those folks. And there are some missing persons down from that area. One who may actually have a connection to that PI, a case many of you know. And if you think that case isn't connected to what's going on here, because it is. A missing persons investigator doesn't just disappear. But she did. She did. So for those of you looking into the Andrea Knable case, you need to do a left turn and connect it all the way back to these same people. Yes, the Louisville Missing Persons Advocate. See, I told you I'm going to drop receipts. And I am at the point where after what happened on Court TV and how it was used against me the following day, I am doing this. Okay, Rogers, 92. You can stay, Mr. M. You guys, nobody will ever catch me off guard again. So I'm going to go into these things, but I'm going to do them at my pace and at my temperature. Because when I went on the night of Rick's sentencing, not the conviction, the sentencing. I think anybody who saw that broadcast could tell I was terrified. Like, I was freaking terrified, you guys. I was never more afraid in my life. I'd made a couple hundred appearances on, is there a lake where these guys have summer homes? Great question. Great question. We have some pictures of them going to Mexico together, the cops and the smugglers. Yeah. But yeah, we like breathing. Bingo. Um, if you're really paying attention to my demeanor that night on court TV, you know I was shaking when I talked about Pharisee. So I was also just traumatized. Rick had just been taken away out of handcuffs that day. So you guys may not know it, but when they were pulling him out in the courtroom, because the family didn't go, I kind of yelled to Rick. I said, they love you. You know why they're not here. We're not giving up. So that was so fucking hard for me, you guys. Like, watching him be dragged away like that. It probably was too soon, criminality, but I had to get the message out. What y'all don't understand, and you're forgetting, is that when all that went down, Rick's sentencing and that appearance, I had just been retargeted by the police. I had just been falsely arrested again by the police. Like, and I'm going to start showing to you this week. I'm going to show you these messages between myself and Andy and Jen when I am like begging. When I'm telling Andy that I'm not sure I'm going to come out of that jail cell alive. I said, Holman's going to have me killed. And Andy's going, I promise we're not going to let that happen to you. We're not going to let that happen. You didn't do anything wrong. These charges are bunk. I didn't think I was coming home for Christmas. I didn't think I was going to be able to make it to the sentencing. There were so many things in play. And so I had been talking to Vinny. Vinny and I were texting for months about this. And I was telling him, I'm not waiting. And he's like, are you sure you're ready? And I'm like, no, I'm not ready. But if I don't do it tonight, I may be dead tomorrow. I'm sorry, guys. I've never talked to you guys about this stuff. This is the stuff that only Chris hears and Clint hears. Sorry. Maybe it's time. Maybe it's time you see what they've done to me. You see what they've done to my family. I've missed my babies so much. And I can't hug them. Because Jerry fucking Holman framed Rick Allen for murders he didn't commit. And now I am paying the price. Having to tell the world that this son of a bitch framed an innocent man. And that is why I am so angry with people like Amy and Kapsa. I'm going to tell you something when I get to you, girl. Don't you tell people I was out there colluding with murder sheets. Oh, don't start with me. You want to be fucking journalist hack. What Michael Osbrook has done to this case can never be forgiven, can never be undone. And I don't want it to be, because I intend to destroy that man's legacy with his own words. Chris and I have been talking for days about how we're going to release these messages. I am thinking of serious, like just a whole episode of not even words, guys, just music. And 2 or 3 straight days of every one of Osbrook's messages. That man and his contract gate bullshit, his lies, what he put Kathy through, what he put me through, what he put Chris through, trying to buy our discovery for pittance, acting like we were fucking secretaries, calling me every day going, don't I make a great investigator, Erica? No! You make a worse investigator than you do a fucking lawyer. And I heard that he was out last night. Oh, my best friend, man. Oh, see, that's why. Great question, Robin. Very possibly so. I would not be surprised if the girls were there for their safety because everybody was afraid. Everybody was afraid that day. We had real legitimate security concerns, and that's why when I started and you saw me react the way I did to Donnie Kuntz, that's why. I can't tell you how many times Donnie Kuntz just wrapped his arms around me and made me feel safe in that gazebo. How many times he walked me to the stairs and told me that he would he would do things like hold on to my drink while we were inside the courthouse so that nobody could put something in it. Like, we were legitimately fearful for our lives. And when I say we, I'm talking about me and Chris. Because I know that see you next Tuesday from the comment insinuated that I'm trying to say we for the defense team. I don't speak for lawyers who blew a case. I just don't. And I never will. I speak for investigators who don't give up. That's who I speak for. And an advocacy team that doesn't give up. Yes, Carla, this is needed. All of us have not heard any of this. Yep. It's because my life was on the line. And I was being told, you guys know that we have proven beyond a shadow of a doubt, that I could not have committed those crimes of animal abuse in Michigan City because I was sitting inside the courthouse in Delphi at the time that SOB took that video and pretended that I had killed that cat and that I had harmed those animals. And those charges are still sitting in a position that they can be refiled at any time. I was told as I was leaving the courthouse by my attorney, you get across that state line as soon as you can. Because we anticipated that I would be hit or with recharges or refiled charges, or they would make up something new. So now, and I gotta say this, it says a lot that a public defender and I beat these charges, and Jennifer Ajay could not. Think on that, folks. Think on that. I'll be sharing an email with you later this week that I sent her where I told her I am not Rick Allen. I am not going to trust you to the tune of 130 years in prison. Where is that thing? Sorry, I just got to. Now I'm mad. Now I'm mad. I'm fired up. Defense. PI does not speak on behalf of legal team. Dated December 23rd, 2024. The comments, Amy Graham McCarty reached out to Jennifer Ajay Saturday with the following email. This is Amy Graham McCarty with the Carroll County Comment. I am reaching out to you as a member of the defense team to follow up on statements that have been made by Erica Morse, a private investigator who says she is employed or was employed by your team that represented Mr. Allen. Quote, Ms. Morse has made claims, speaking on behalf of the defense team, that Greg Ferenczi was killed by Shane Meehan, a former prison guard who was an Odinist. She also claims that Meehan killed Greg Ferenczi 5 days after the Odin report was released. See, I made a traumatic mistake. That's right. She alludes that this was done to silence Mr. Ferenczi and send a message. My question is, does Ms. Morse speak for you and on behalf of the defense team? Monday morning, Ajay sent this reply. Quote, Ms. Morse is not speaking on behalf of Mr. Allen's attorneys or legal team. We have no knowledge of these accusations as we have been focused on providing a defense for Mr. Allen. That line right there is going to cost her potentially her license. Because on the day she responded via that email, guess what else she did? She didn't tell Amy McCarty that she could not respond to that question because she represented Erica Morse at that time. Jen was my lawyer when she did this shit. Jen was my lawyer when she discussed me, her client, who was telling her that she had been falsely arrested and set up by the people in Delphi, and my lawyer is talking to a cunt from the Carroll County Comet. Yeah, oh my God, Adrian. You think I ain't going for her license? Think again. Oh, bitch did send me a bill, though. She was not privy. Yeah, you can check it out on my case to verify. On December 23rd of 2024, the same day that this was printed, Jennifer Ajay filed a motion to continue my case in LaPorte County. Oh, what a tangled web we weave, folks. Yeah, fireworks. Boom. I am not playing anymore. This bitch violated me. Our contract, which I've decided y'all are gonna see. We'll do it this week in an episode of the podcast. You're going to see that contract. You're going to see that we were contracted by Brad and Andy through Jensen. And that Jennifer Ajay's name was nowhere on it. And that this entire fucking thing was semantics. It was defamation. It was a hit piece. That's what it was. It was the hit piece that Court TV refused to do on me. Mwah. Thank you. And the Carroll County Comet did it instead. You want to talk trash about me? And I'm going to tell you something. This is how desperate they are to sell how bad a human I am. Go to the Carroll County Comet right now. Right now. Dig it up. See which article you can get and access for free versus all the other ones you have to pay to view. This one is free to view. Just like all the articles about me on NW Times are free to view. And the ones on the Michigan City News Dispatch were free to view before they panicked and took them down. Because these newspapers, no, I am a former newspaper publisher and I am an online newspaper publisher. I know these rules inside and out. This is a hit piece and a collusion piece intended to defame my character during and after a trial. And while I was being faced with charges, and the person who was quoted in this article was my own goddamn lawyer. Yeah. Oh, yes, it would, Carla Ann. It would be mighty shady if something happened to me now. Don't think they won't try it. There are still names I'm not saying out here for a reason. No, never trust a lawyer. Screw them. I'm more pissed about him lying that the defense needs to file a civil suit now. He literally. Who are you talking about, Christine? Are you talking about Asbrook? That's a good one. Shaboogers and Asbrook. I'm cool with that. We might do an actual whole 2 episodes of just nothing but his messages. The way he talks shit about the defense lawyers, you guys. And might I the way he talks about all those mean girls. Oh my god. But you also have to remember that he's not entitled to discovery. So every time he's leading y'all to think he has discovery, he doesn't. It's being leaked by someone who's not supposed to be sharing it with him. Because as I've said in an earlier podcast, and I'll keep saying it, I messaged Sarah and I asked her, texted her and said, Michael Osberg wants our discovery. Is he entitled to it? And it was like, hold on, let me get Brad. Let me go find Brad. Hang on. And like a minute later, my phone rang and it was Sarah. And she's like, Brad said, don't give that discovery to him. I'm like, he's trying to purchase it he wanted to buy our discovery for $360. There's the magic number. Okay. Richard Allen's life was worth $360 to Michael Osberg. Okay. But he also wanted control of that whole $32,000 that was still sitting there and hadn't been paid. $360. That's all Rick's life was to him. If I name names, criminality, I'll get hit with suits because everybody on that side of the fence is now all screaming that Erica needs to be kept shut. There are only, let's do it like this, criminality. I'll give you a list of people that I know of that have access to discovery, and then you can go from there. So I had it, Chris and I had it. Ours was returned in January. I'd have to check my wallet, but I have the receipt. Max signed and dated a receipt for me. I think we met in Monticello. At a gas station, cute little Max. And he came and picked up my hard drive. And I asked him to sign off on a receipt, signed and dated, so that we showed chain of custody that it had been returned to the defense lawyers. So it was returned specifically to, hey, Trial Junkie, specifically to Brad because he was the lead counsel. So we, I don't remember where I was going with that. Oh, so we gave ours back in January. And then you had Matt Hoffman had a copy. I don't think Brian Alvey had a copy. I don't know. That would be between the lawyers. And then the lawyers and Jason Jensen. So it wasn't me and it wasn't Chris. Because we'd given our hard drive back. And I guess that leaves 3 lawyers and 2 investigators. I don't see Sarah and Max doing that, especially not with Max getting into law school. Max had just told us the morning of Rick's sentencing when we all went back to the bank to reconvene. That's when Brad told us that we all had to be sitting down. Nobody could do press until we all sat down and had a meeting, so that nobody was left out of documentaries. And of course, that's when I got their permission that night to go on court TV, even though my lawyer said that permission never took place. Careful, don't lie. I got receipts. Because Andy had been asked to go on with us. Yeah, Max even kept things quiet from us. Hell yeah, he did, and I don't blame him. After what Brad was put through, that's why I told Brad at the condo I wasn't even upset because I wouldn't want my license on the line for somebody else's mistake. So there's that. So that gives you an idea of who had access to it that we know of. Now, I don't know. I mean, hell, for all I know, Max or Mitch Westerman had a copy. Who knows? I found something the other night that I wasn't supposed to have. It was an email from Nick McClelland to Gull and Andy, written a few hours after Kyle Fortson took his life. I'm not supposed to have that document, but it was sent to me. All I can say is those digging into the death of Kyle Fortson might really want to dig deeper into the last 4 hours of his life. That's all I will say without getting myself, yeah, Carla Ann, whoopsie. That's why I said I had to go back through this stuff. Like, I didn't even realize that Jason was sending me stuff. And I think after looking back now, yeah, Fig knew more about Discovery than Mullen. Preach. That's all I can say. That's why Andy told us he got catfished by Fig. Now I know who Fig most likely got that discovery from, because Andy told Chris and I that Jason got catfished by Fig. Don't worry, it's recorded. Let him go out and say he never said it. Because, guys, I've been asking them this question for so long. If y'all aren't going to pay us, and we weren't PIs for the defense, then I guess that 35 years of investigative journalism gets to kick in. Don't play us. Like, come on. We're all adults here, or we're supposed to be all adults here. Sarah Osbrook, criminality, Jason. Jason allegedly. Andy told us that Jason got catfished by Fig, and that was one of the reasons why they terminated him in the motion, or in Hennessy's motion. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Acts, Romans, 1 Corinthians. Yeah, sorry. I am like trained on that. Mullen took better screenshots than Fig, though. Yeah, I guess. LaPorte County has had a huge heroin problem, which has now been replaced by meth and fentanyl. That is accurate, David Rogers. But you just reminded me of something. Chris, we got to check when heroin started to decline and went to meth and fentanyl, because that lines up. Oh, criminality. He thought he was, well, he was hired to be the fact-finding agency. So I do give him those props because he hired us. You may not have seen it, criminality, but I put up a cropped message because if I show you guys the rest of that message, shit's gonna hit the fan in ways it never did before. Um, but I do believe, ooh, Aaron Town, I want to hear more about that. Um, I believe that I showed a message the other night where I said that my boss had been asked, or Jason had been asked to violate the gag order, and I had proof. The second half of that text message is so bad that it Stacey and Liana has to see it before anybody else. That's just all there is to it. Um, this impacts several motions. Like there are discussions about motions in that second half to that message, um, and I'm just not going to do that to Rick. There's just it's not happening. Don't know who Jason thought Fig was. Don't know if Jason shared info. Sorry, I should have asked that together. Oh, thanks, sweet dude. I don't know. Oh God, don't get me into Moab. I have to stay focused on one case, or at least the ones that are in my head right now. Yes, we will have to talk tattoos and hand gestures one day soon. I would love that. I would love that. We got a really interesting tip last night that ties back to, I don't want to say any names. You guys, I'm sure will know them. You can drop them probably here, but about what went down with like the gal from the marathon station. We got some really good intel last night about that. And there's some promise there. There's some very big promise there. Um, yeah, Fig did kind of fade away on that. What else did we get this week? Oh, we got an email address. There we go. Yep. Adrian, yes. We got an email address. I was running backgrounds and backgrounds and backgrounds and backgrounds and finally going deep. Um, yes, David Rogers, I know people who work at WCC. I went to high school with people who worked at WCC, and yeah, what was going down there. I had a guard tell me that they gave Rick the Westville welcome, and she was laughing at me. Um, oh, no, let me tell you guys something. I have to be careful um, because I don't want to help this person, but I'll just say this. I was at a friend's house one day, not too long after Rick's sentencing, and there was a knock at the door. And it was from someone who had been a guard at Westville. And I'm like, can I help you? And this, I can't say like the circumstances by which this person landed on my doorstep because it will harm the privacy of others. But best 7 years of my life. Yes, Carly, seriously. And this person said, "Are you Erica Morse from Delphi?" And I was like, "Yeah, who's asking?" And this person was like, "Listen, I have some information. There's some stuff that I observed when I was employed at WCC. And as a matter of fact, I was on what they called Rick's care team. This was somebody who was put in a position to help watch over him. And this person was not there to hurt him. This person was there to ensure as much as they could that what they were doing to him was limited, at least on that person's shift. So it was just crazy. Like I'm sitting there, we get a knock on the door. I'm not allowed to, necessarily say what the knock was about, but the person on the other end is like, "You're not Erica Morse from Delphi, are you?" And I'm like, "Yeah." "Oh, well, I got to talk to you anyway." It was crazy. you guys. It was just, yeah, it's our hometown. We know former guards. We know the chiefs of police, like all these chiefs that I'm having issues with now. Man, we used to drink with them back in high school. Like, that's how I know these guys are scum. Some of us grew up and some of us became corrupt cops. So it's nuts as kind of like to what we're seeing and what we're dealing with and trying to make sense of it all while being run out of my home, and then um Rick is convicted and being told, that by Osbrook that I got to start instantly on the motion to correct error, him running Chris out of that conversation and officially off that case within a matter of a few days of Rick's conviction. I really think that it was, I think people thought that I was easy to fool because I'm just some dumb blonde. When in reality, I've run stations, I've run newspapers, I've run newsrooms. I've been an investigator for 8 years now, almost 8 years now. And I happen to have, been given credit for solving one of Texas's biggest cold cases and put a guy behind bars for a few years on a $2 million bond. You don't get that type of reputation by being an idiot. So just because I'm blonde haired and blue eyed doesn't mean that I was born yesterday. Um, and I think that Chris sometimes has a tendency to, how do I say this? Not tolerate guys like Osbrook too well. We were literally sitting there and she's fighting it out with him. And I'm like, just give it a few more days. And she's like, fuck this motherfucker. I'm done. And I'm like, great. Now I got to pull this off on my own. Like, we've been through so much, you guys, that having that SOB, treat her like she was a moron. Treat her like we worked for him, because we came straight off of this 2-year battle, and then not being paid. Sean, give me a second and I'll get back to your question. To then having him say that he wants us to jump into the post-conviction stuff, and don't worry, I know you women have been put through hell and haven't received a check for 2 years. So I've called Hennessy personally to guarantee that you and Chris can get paid out of that expert fund. And then the very next day to get that friggin' call back and be told, I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened last night, but Hennessy says that all of a sudden Andy called and that 32,000 was ordered to be moved back to the lawyers. And so Hennessy says he can't cut you guys the checks now. But Erica, you can't get off this case. I need you for that motion to correct error. While I'm being told by my lawyer to wait out a warrant. While I'm being worked 18 hours a day, again, for free. I don't want to keep replaying certain parts. I just don't. It's not healthy for me. But I have got to get some of you, especially some of you who have been very resistant to hearing Chris and I without goggles on, to understand that the level of trauma we have experienced over the last 2 to 3 years now on this case is grandiose. It's big. Like, it's big, big. Like, her kid went without Christmas for this shit. And Rick's still in prison. I lost my house for this shit. And Rick's still in prison. Like I was run out of my hometown and declared a fraud and an animal killer. And Rick is still in prison. An innocent man. I called Chris about, yes, you're right, Prophet. It's my fault that Rick served 130 years. I didn't try him, or I'm not a lawyer. I didn't handle his defense. I handled the investigation aspect of the defense as the lead investigator or the senior managing investigator for Jensen Investigations. I was only responsible for 50% of the investigation team. And that 50% did an incredible job. That 50% sent information to the lawyers that was ignored and sent a lot of information to our superiors, which were ignored. If you all want to know why I love Prof so damn much, it's because he fights for us. First of all, he's been through the same crap we've been through. And when I tell you that they are harassing him and his little boy, I cannot stress this enough. They need to stop. Y'all need to stop sending that boy birthday cards. You need to stop letting Prof know that you know his exact age. I swear to God, I will put every one of you behind bars. Or maybe I'll just put your business out there and distract you. Because some of you have forgotten about your own businesses along the way. Fuck it, Chris. Why not? Somebody didn't pay their website bill and I own it now. That's how I roll. So unless you want your greatest hits to end up under your company's name, I suggest you stop telling lies about Erica. I want to go back to your real business because it's suffering. I have no problem taking people down a path of distraction if they are going to torment. Yeah, Chris, I've just been dying to say it for months. So, criminality, our contract, okay, we were hired by Jason, and then we had rates. We had a investigatory rate of $60 per hour. I think our trial rate, because our trial rate I think was 150. Jason's trial rate I think was 3 times that. Contracted to pay you. We're supposed to be paid by the court. We were supposed to be paid by the court. That was the deal. But Indiana makes Jason responsible. That's how the state looks at it. So employment laws is that Jason was responsible for paying us. But what we did is we invoiced Jason. And then Jason, was supposed to send those invoices to Brad. I asked multiple times if I could reach out to Brad. And I was told no. Like, you guys, you're going to see the receipts. One of the things that upset Chris so badly was how many times Jason told me to go check the mailbox at the office. How many times Jason said, well, did you run to the office and check the mail? Like acting like we were idiots who just had bothered to check the mail. And we just found out now you understand the frustration exactly. So we were just told a couple days ago that Jason never even submitted our invoices to Brad. And then there go, Brad could never have submitted them to Gull. So Jason was distracted by John Bonet almost instantly. Okay. Remember, there was that delay. We got hired on Delphi on February 16th of 23. But our agency license wasn't approved until June 22nd. In the first week of Hi Lily, I was terrified that day, and I was not well. I was terrified for my life. Um, I lost my train of thought. Um, Shit, I can't remember. Sorry. I'm sure I'll get back to it. But Sean had asked a question. Hold on just a second. The day the bodies were found, they said they were officially identified. He said they were at the edge of the creek. Something happened in the crime scene. Bodies were then moved. I saw those pictures just like all of you did a few weeks ago that were floating around, and I was so confused by them that I called Chris. And Chris and I don't battle on much, but this is one of those where we're still not seeing eye to eye, which means that we're not there yet. If we have a dispute like that, it's because we need to still walk it through and work it. I'm sorry, still work it through. There's something about those pictures. Like, I'm very upset about those pictures. And I say that because of what Sean said about Sergeant Riley from ISP. That the days the bodies were found, they had been officially identified. He said they were on the edge of the creek. Something happened at the crime scene. Bodies were then moved. What I'm trying to find is the original news footage, the original B-roll. And see if I can compare that, see if that existed. Hold on, I have to pull this up. Because it's time. Sorry, I'm using my phone. Oh, it's gone. I think he termed out. Russ McQuaid was on the private security board with Doug Carter during this Delphi timeline. So I'm having a real big issue with the reporter from one of the biggest stations who was in possession of B-roll footage that is now questionable. I believe he termed out in December. I do have that screenshotted and in a couple of digital files, so I'll show it this week. But yeah, there was a member of the Delphi or of the Indiana Press who was covering Delphi for one of the largest television stations in the state, who was then approached by the head of Indiana State Police, Doug Carter, and given a position on that board, the private security board. The same private security board that delayed our licensing for 4 months. I'm not trying to cause problems. I'm trying to expose corruption. And every time I find one of these little nuggets, it irritates me more and more. There's just more happening. And we are just getting started at the point where I have recently started to go back through all of this stuff. Like, I cannot tell you, where are they? I have 3 phones. Okay. These are the phones that I have had since 2019. 2019, 2020. I carry these 3 phones everywhere with me because inside these phones are hundreds of hours of recordings, hundreds, if not thousands, of text messages, screenshots galore, um, that I hadn't even had time to organize. In addition to an external hard drive, my laptop, tablet, like I have all these devices that have been going with me everywhere because I had not had time to sit down and just organize them and get through all of the information that is contained within. And then, and I'm not going to say who, I am not going to say who, I'm not going to say what town, I'm not giving anything because this is so huge to us connecting the dots. But what I will say is prior to me getting my charges dismissed, yes, Dropboxes hold a lot of information. Um, I have to make sure that Osbrook is completely removed from that because we were Dropboxing some information. And I just have to make sure. Jordan, yeah, let me go ahead real quick and at Jordan, I want to get you my email address real quick. There you go. My email for those who want to reach out, info@victimsnewsonline.com, victimsnewsonair@gmail.com. Yes. Oh, hey, Christina. Can attorneys access filings if they're not sealed? How does that work? Yes. The easy answer is yes. My case, Indiana's Odyssey system has a back end feature that is accessible to officers of the court and clerks, staff of the courthouse. And yes, it would be absolutely feasible for an attorney in Indiana to log in using his attorney credentials to illegally access documents on my case. And for those of you, I type really, really fast, really fast. I would say that there are some folks who violated their privileges for doing that. I called one of them out on Court TV right before Rick's arrest, I believe it was. So I think it was dating all the way back to before his arrest. Sorry, I'm looking at something in the comment section. There's no sign-in available, or there's no required like sign-in or anything like that when you go into Odyssey. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's logging IP addresses. I'll just say that. I wouldn't be surprised if it was logging IPs. So, please, oh, you're so cool, Prof. Sorry, I'm getting stuffy now from crying earlier. I told Criminality, and when I talked with her last night about doing this, that maybe I'd do this for about 3 hours, but I'm not Prof. I don't have that level of patience to sit in one place for 3 hours. That's just not who I am. So I will probably wrap this up a little sooner rather than later, unless you all still have questions. Um, it's just not my thing. And I really don't like being in front of the camera. I mean, I do it on court TV all the time because when they call me, it's because I'm helping a family. I'm interacting with a family or other investigators, forensic people, lawyers, and it gives me the chance to help a family try to bring some closure to a case. This is not me. Like, it's just not who I want to be. I'm very much behind the scenes. That's why I'm a writer. That's why I'm did radio for 25 years because it allows me to be behind the mic as opposed to in front of the camera. I know how to do it. Yes, I'm comfortable doing it, but I just when you have this level of trauma, it's not easy to put yourself out there. It's very vulnerable. It's a very vulnerable state to be in. Um, there are several discussions that took place in the last 24 hours about this live. One of them being, you know, are they going to be able to find you based on background? Are they going to be able to track your IP address? Well, I've got my VPN. Don't worry. If you think you know where I am, you don't. Um, if, you know, what else could they use to track you? Um, this is scary. Like, this is scary for me. When I say I haven't hugged my kids, I'm not lying. I missed my daughter's birthday. Like, and I got another one coming up in a couple weeks. No, 5 days. Sorry. I miss my kids a lot. But the people we're dealing with here have no qualms about going after people's families. And I feel like, so there were some conversations that were had between us and the legal team about safety prior to trial and how are we going to try this case, or not me, how are lawyers going to try this case and try to get Rick off from false charges without getting themselves or their families killed. And I think that, how do I say this? I'm just gonna have to say it, guys, and I'm fine with the fallout. We needed you guys to have our backs. You hired us to work this case, and you did not protect us when it came time to do so. And then you doubled down and threw our asses under the bus to get out of having to submit our invoices. I don't know what. Why? Because I panicked on national television and said the wrong date? Man, fuck you, Reddit people. I'm going to say something. Erica Morse has no credibility because she doesn't know when Ferenczi was killed. Bullshit. I'm the one who has nightmares about it because I'm pretty sure I'm next. Y'all don't know what we are going through. You do not know how much I miss my family. But so does Kathy Allen. And to know Kathy and Rick and Jan and Kent and Brittany and Jamie is to love them. Like, how can you not be willing to fight for these incredible people? How can you not? No one had my back more when I was falsely arrested than that family. They felt horrible for what I was being put through. They had my back in ways I'm not even at liberty to discuss because I've been asked not to. There is a fine line in all of this between exposing the truth and doing so in a safe manner I am not in a position to give up because the people who hired us panicked and did not protect us. And I don't give a flying fuck at this point about Fran Goal's gag order. I think we should have been told to go out and meet with the press and tell the press that our lives were being threatened. I think that we had every right. Yes, it is, Carla Ann. This is so much more beyond keyboard warriors. I really think that we had a right to go to the press. If there is one regret I have, it's not violating that damn thing sooner. It's not, or not sooner. I didn't violate it. Others did, but I should have been allowed to go on court TV and say, my life has been threatened. The man who sold me my house told me that if he didn't run me out of it, they were going to burn it down like they did the Flora house. There is a reason why I say this case will be studied. In law classes, in criminal justice classes, it better be studied in journalism classes. Because journalists who had the opportunity to get this right and get the story of their damn careers missed it. Every single one of them missed it. Except Martha Donald. That girl saved my ass. She's the reason I'm set free right now. Fucking Indiana State Police. So stupid. Trying to get them, of all people, to do a hit piece on me? That was just genius, wasn't it? Wait, I'm so confused. How is Erica right there on that video doing that when she's also over there? Well, they made it clear during trial that they weren't brilliant in terms of framing people. Now, when I insult them, I don't want to say epic fail like it didn't work, because it did. Rick is still sitting there. Rick is still he's suffering, but I will say this, okay? Rick's doing okay right now. I have been told that I'm allowed to at least share that much. Rick's doing okay. He's got a lot of hope. And I want you all to know that he's not in the torturous situation that he was previously. So I'm comfortable at least saying that and letting you know that there is like a little bit of a bright spot in all this. I got a good report last week, and right, I agree with you, Carly Ann. We can't stop. We won't stop. Like, the way those assholes clutch their pillows at night, wondering when we're all gonna put that nail in their coffin, when is the day that the feds are gonna show up and take them all down. The way they clutch their pillows about that is night is the way I clutch my pillow, wondering when Rick's gonna get out. Like, I literally, when I go to sleep at night, I have this pillow I wrap my arms around. It's the last thing I say at night is, when is he getting out? It's got to happen. But I think that, that's what I was saying is, yeah, that this is such a case study on so many levels. It better be studied in journalism classes, because I'm a journalist, remember? And so I was watching this as a private investigator. I was sitting in the defense row. There was one day I was sitting in the well with the lawyers, 2 feet away from the jury. That was weird. And I was watching the setup of this press situation and them putting together what you call the press pool, which is there were only 14 seats allowed, but there were like 50, 60 some, probably members of the press who all wanted seats. So they would assign someone that day who was inside the courtroom to then go out and re-report to everybody else what was being said. Well, first of all, some people got it wrong and they went out and they re-reported inaccurate information that caused extreme unnecessary additional pain to Rick's family, and that just can't be undone. I know apologies have been made, but that just can't be done. Hold on a second. What, if anything, was found at the multi-week reportedly $1 million search of the Wabash River? I don't know. I do recall a search of the Wabash River, but I don't know. I'll have to look and see. Sorry. Oh, Sean, thank you for going to visit him. Um, just so you all know, Oklahoma has a policy: unless you're family, you're not getting in to see him. So don't anybody have your feelings hurt. Um, unless you share DNA with him, or you're his lawyers, you're not getting in. And Chris and I, we haven't even tried. Like, we know our role in this. Rick has not received a letter from me. He's not received a postcard from me. Why? A call? Nothing. Because anything with my name on it is going to be put under a fucking microscope. So, I'm not even having these assholes look for my postmark. Our messages go through the family, of course, but he knows there are people out there fighting for him. He knows his lawyers are out there fighting. Didn't that feel good? Did you guys see that motion? They got to give up the Frank steering info. The Frank steering that never happened. I was like, score one for Stacy Eliana. That felt so good. It felt so good to see that win and that extension on the appeal, because I think it's going to be really important. I know. Sorry, guys. Ronald from Deltona. I don't know why Rick is in a federal prison. Great question. Unless Bureau of Prisons just felt he was safer in that setting. Somebody had told us that the marshals came and got him. Oh, I remember. I talked with somebody in Oklahoma that the day we found out he was transferred, and they got some information from the warden, but that the marshals actually came to get him and took him to Oklahoma. So that, to me and Chris, was a good sign. He's not in Gen Pop. He's in what they call restricted. It's not segregated, but it's like a restricted. He just got a tablet. He's talking to his family. Like, we're making progress. He's talked to a couple people. Like, he seems safer there. I heard the food is better there. Like, all these little things that matter when you are, I don't know, an innocent man spending, faced with the rest of your natural life behind bars for crimes you never even committed. So we take those little wins, like I've taken the little wins when I can get them, like kid time with my family over the phone. He takes those little wins. But Anna, man, you were asking some great questions, Anna. Keegan Klein seems to have instigated the lengthy, expensive search of the Wabash River. I've got some work to do. That's what I was saying earlier, and I had forgotten. So we found an email. address this week. I have to send it off to the attorneys, but if anybody else has come across an email address that belonged to one figure that may or may not have had Ron Logan's name attached to it, would you reach out to me, please, and give me that email address? Because something ain't right here. We found an email address linked to Logan under somebody else's background. And what was that she wanted? Why was Bree Wilbur interviewed at the U.S. Marshals? Yeah. Ooh, yeah, that's enough. Gotta remember, some of these folks were minors when this crime happened. So there were specialized agents who were conducting these interviews, the Behavioral Analysis Unit called the BAU. They're the ones that handle the kids. That's standard pretty much in any investigation involving minors and the feds. So I'll leave it at that. I'm gonna make sure. Let me see what I got here. Oh, yes, this is the one I want to really touch on. If I missed your question, like Sean, I know you had something that you asked about that I partially wrote down and then forgot to address. I want to talk about this false allegation about me being related to Anya. I have never met Anya Kane until trial. I've spoken with her, like we were a couple times together on court TV. Oh, and this bullshit about how I was in collusion and I was anti Rick Allen. I was never anti Rick Allen. Let me get that real clear. Never, ever. I was anti Delphi killer. And if you can't separate those two statements, then you're not intelligent enough to follow my channel. I don't want stupid people here. I don't want people who feign ignorance. I don't want people here who are intentionally misunderstand me for the purposes of gaslighting and twisting my words. Okay? So if you can't understand that on the night that Rick Allen was announced to have been arrested and charged with these crimes, that I was called onto court TV. Oh, and by the way, as I said in a previous episode, I wasn't just grieving at that time. I was 36 hours off a plane from burying a kid in my family. So I don't want to hear it. I was exhausted. Rick Allen gets arrested. I get a call from the producer saying, Erica, they've made an arrest in Delphi. Can you come on? I'm like, I'm fresh off a plane. We'll make it work. And then I get those messages from Cheryl telling me that she'd been in Rick Allen's fire pit. Or I get the call from Cheryl saying she'd been in Rick Allen's fire pit. Then I get the messages from her saying that he took souvenirs. And you saw my response. Jesus, can I reveal that on the air? That's huge from a profiling perspective. You also heard me say that night with murder sheets sitting on the air that Chris and I had gone back and reopened case files, and that we were going to spend all weekend looking through Indiana cold case files because things were matching. Guess what? They weren't matching to Rick Allen. They were matching to others. So when you try to play me and the cards don't line up, I'm gonna win that hand. You sent us here's what they wanted us to do. Okay, in a nutshell. They wanted us to make Rick Allen the next Larry Hall. And if you don't know who that is, look it up. Yeah, Nancy, you're absolutely right. Purported that rumor of the cat, which was nothing but bullshit. It was a lie. I was on that property. I scoured every inch of that property with my feet and my eyes. No, see through. I don't. I don't. I don't know who sent Lemmy those pics. Um, Chris might, but I don't. Uh, every day now, please. Guys, I gotta look for a job. Like, I know my agency has been great, but I've been away for too long now, so I've got to start looking to inquire for other PI positions and transfer my licensing somewhere else, and my company still keeps me employed, but um, yeah, I've got to get back to it. I have bills too, and for some reason, people just don't seem to think that Chris and I have the right to pay them. It's the funniest thing, isn't it? Um, how much we are mistreated for just asking for our paychecks. It's a it's a very common gaslighting tactic. It's a very common tactic to use against women who dare challenge the system. We're just no one, and what the hell, we're just doing this for a paycheck. Not us. Not us. So yeah, Adrian, trucking by far, we've gotten two more trucking connections in the last 24 hours. I would say four. Adrian, I actually have a document. Oh, I may have dropped it earlier when I dropped my paperwork. Hold on, no. So I went through today. Real quick before I switch to that. I want to read this bullshit from Andy Kopsa. It showed up in my spam. I just found it from June of last year. I don't care that EM, that's me, was out there stumping against RA. Why? No, not because I think it's a great thing, but is anyone surprised? But because again, that is a failing no amount of attention will remedy. There is no commission to hold a former quasi-accountable PI. Bitch, I'm a real PI. I hold licensing. Go fuck yourself. Can I make that any more clear? You say it again, I'll sue you. And trust me, there are people on your side of the pond who can give you that summons. I have no problem with that. Fuck. Lying ass bitches. There's no commission to hold a former quasi-PI accountable for appearing on a talking head program. Jealous much? Jealous much? Because that's what this boils down to. It's not a talking head program. It's the number one true crime network in the world. And you clearly have your panties in a bunch that I've made a quarter, 250 appearances, and you've made none? Go fuck yourself. I earned that time by putting Sean Adkins' ass behind bars where it belonged. There is a less than 2% chance of cold cases over 10 years being closed, and I accomplished that. Only to have a couple of AGs panic 3 weeks before trial because, he happens to have the same tattoos that the guys in Delphi do. Do your homework, folks. Do your homework. Does anyone think drawing out like poison? Let's see. Does anyone think the Indiana criminal legal system will release RA because EM did a court TV appearance? No, I don't. I think they might release him if I do 500 of these and drop dimes on every single one of these sons of bitches. I'll expose every time I will expose every hooker they screwed, every dollar they stole and embezzled, every piece of land they have flipped time and time again. I will tell you where they were taking pictures of babies. I'll tell you where they were taking pictures of young boys. I'll give you plates for judges and lawyers. Don't try me, because I know a hell of a lot more than anyone realizes, and so does Chris. Oh, 80 cops is in New York. Why'd she tell me Australia? Okay, that's easy. Does anyone think drawing out like poison the possible relationship between EM and murder sheets prior to RA's arrest will move the appellate counsel to come to their senses? Bitch, there's nothing for them to come to their senses on. There was no collusion. I'm gonna say it real nice and slow for the people who are stupid. Okay, so that's you, Kopsa. That's you, Amy. That's you, Shaboogers. That's you, Osbrook. I'll say it real nice and slow. Okay, I firmly believe Murder Sheets was given bad information so they would go out and re-report it. Are we good now? Do I need to go back slower? Because there is a major difference, and only a publisher might pick up on it. Only a former station manager might pick up on it. Only a trained investigator might pick up on it. There is a major difference between a husband wife team. One is a journalist, one is a lawyer in that state, being given access to information and being treated in such a way that they think they're doing good. They think they're reporting accurate details from the police. And really, what's happening is they're being used to disseminate false details by a bunch of dirty cops. For those who cannot yet comprehend why I have said a couple of kind things about murder sheets, it's because I genuinely believe they have information that will help expedite Rick's release. Who's better poised to tell us what the cops told them than the people who were misused in the process? That is a very big difference, very big, between some idiot lawyer trying to get his hands on discovery day in and day out, day in and day out, harassing investigators, threatening investigators, and then coming back and completely opening a shit show of a circus when the answer is a defiant no. And when this bitch had the audacity to call lead counsel and say, hey, a lot of people out there seem to think this guy lives on a pedestal, but I don't buy it. Is he entitled to discovery? No, don't you give him discovery. Don't get me started on Aspen. I thought I would. Let's see how my face is getting red. I'll say this about Aspen. He played both sides, and I saw right through it. The only time Aspen contacts me now is when he's following a trial and he wants me to reach out to Court TV and sell him as the guy who deserves to get the exclusive. Like, hey, I'll go to you call them and tell them that I'm covering this case. They don't have anybody here, so how about you tell them that I'll do the case for them and I'll go on and give them exclusive coverage. All right, I'm right on that. All right, Chris, I'm gonna go take a nap now. No, no. See, you don't play me and my people. Is he back in jail? Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot. I forgot. And Hannah, see, I don't want to give too much up from Hannah. Prof, can I get a? Are we getting closer on that thing that we talked about the other day? Is he fighting with somebody? Is he fighting with somebody? Prof, are we closer to that thing yet? I don't want to steal his thunder, so um Oh, sorry. Are we any closer, Prof, to identifying DB's true identity? I don't believe that swatting thing, Christina. I'm not sure I believe that because I was swatted in this case. And that's a yes, Prof. Okay. So I don't want to steal Prof's thunder because he's worked so hard on this and he deserves to be the one to say it. But let's just say we're getting real close to identifying the real identity of DB if it hasn't been done already. And y'all are going to be mad. Y'all are going to be mad. So, guys, I could literally sit there like now I want to, I could sit here and do this all night. I've got to wrap this up. I've just got to. Um, I'm tired. I'm mentally tired from all of this. It's a big Eric could do a show every day. Let me see once I get a little bit more comfortable. Let me just I'm trying to figure out how to live a life again. That was one of the things that um, Brad had said to us, pack your stuff up, go home, and go back to whatever normal life you have or whatever semblance of normal is left. And I just looked at him and I was like, what? Oh, my family. I am I am in a different position than any one of these YouTubers out here. And I'm not talking shit about you, Prof. Um, you need to really look at who you're supporting out there. You need to really look at who you are believing and quite frankly, who you're giving your money to. Because we haven't gotten there yet. I've still got a little work to do. I'm hoping that this week is going to be the lawyer stuff on Delphi Dirt, and then I'm hoping that the following week is going to be the financials. But I'm telling you right now, we have an expert unaccounted for, a big one. As I was listening to some of my recordings from our meetings with Andy and Matt and Hennessy, we have an expert unaccounted for. And I got to go digging into the financials to find out if this person ever invoiced, was paid, anything, because something isn't making sense. And um, I don't know yet what it means, but I know that we have an expert who was involved in the beginning who didn't show up at trial, and I need to know why. Because the information that expert was reviewing is a big damn deal. Um, Adrian, I'll get this to you, but I've got a list of all DOT violations in the state of Indiana for you by name / carrier. And I've just started going through it so we can try to identify and cross-reference this stuff. But yeah, this is perfect. Like we're at 2 hours. This is a really good time to wrap it up. Sorry for the crying. Sorry for a little bit of the cussing. These women and that man have sat online every night for a long time and said the most vicious of things, not just about me, not just about Chris, but about Kathy, who's someone I cherish, and about a lot of good people. Um, I love you guys right back. Like, I cannot tell you how much I appreciate all of you because it feels really good to be believed. Like, really good to be believed. So, you all have a great night. Like, share, follow, do your thing. And I'll be back this week with definitely a couple more podcasts, and we'll see about fitting in alive if you guys are up for it. All right. Everybody have a great night, and we'll talk soon.